Worst film you ever saw? Well, my next one will be better. Hello?
Whether it's from a childhood immersed in treehouses of horror, my teens binging Tales from the Crypt, or the adult joys of Trick or Treat, I've always had an affection for anthologies. In fact, many of their short, sharp stabs of genre brilliance have stuck with me longer than many of their feature-length narrative peers.
Damn! That don't sound too good, Bill Murray.
Now, you'll find most of the popular examples of the format broadly cater for the horror or fantastical fiction crowds. That's because, even though the style seems tailor-made for snappy jokes and silly setups, comedy compilations are relatively scarce. Yes, we've got Kentucky Fried Movie, The Meaning of Life, Wild Tales, and a few others, but generally speaking, comedy anthologies are rarer than hen's teeth.
What's funny, Biggs?
Oh, nothing, sir.
Oh, do please share your little joke with the rest of us. I mean, obviously something frightfully funny is going on.
Surely though, anyone could simply expand on the sketch comedy trappings of innumerable television series.
Our opponent would like you to believe that Mitt Romney is a merman.
And spin that off into box office gold. Well, that's what Peter Farrelly thought when he spent over 4 years wrangling as many actors as he could under the gross-out umbrella of the now infamous Movie 43. And this is what we have to show for it.
Oh, that was epic!
Movie 43 isn't just the worst anthology ever made. I would argue it's the worst professionally produced and commercially released comedy I've ever seen.
Take that back! You son of a bitch! You take it back! Take that back!
If you're watching this, you most likely know it's dreadful, either by seeing it for yourself or catching one whiff of the critical slaughter it was subjected to. What isn't clear, however, is how such a disaster managed to ensnare 6 Academy Award winners, at least half a dozen Oscar nominees, and a dream team of talent around an utterly worthless, unequivocally irredeemable project. So I put on my journalistic hat and strapped condoms to my eyes to try and find out.
Turn it off.
You look like you bathed in a dumpster behind the abortion clinic.
Turn it off!
Poop Viagra. Yeah.
I just want to take a second to be sincere and as serious as I can be when I say you should never watch Movie 43. It's that rare level of bad that can't be enjoyed honestly or from a position of academic distance. It's just so miserable to watch, I'm begging you not to. That being said, you're gonna need that absolute bare minimum of context going forward, so here's a lightning fast breakdown of each segment, just so you know what we're working with here. Kate Winslet goes on a date with Hugh Jackman, who happens to have a pair of testicles dangling from his neck.
Oh, you've, got something on you.
They meet, Winslet winces, and the sketch cuts off in the middle of a seemingly random sentence because fuck you. Liev Schreiber and Naomi Watts homeschool their son, taking his education to daunting extremes to ensure that he doesn't miss out on the trials, tribulations, and terror of the all-American high school experience. Cue bullying, incest again, and finally, a child having a complete psychotic break. A man is about to propose to his girlfriend when she pops a very different question.
Will you poop on me?
Before he can drop a deuce on her face, he gets hit by a car and explosively shits himself. That's all there is. A feuding couple has an argument / sexually charged flirtation over the intercom of a grocery store. Then they leave. Also known as the second sketch about an awkward date. Only this time with superheroes. This is basically Doug Walker with dementia, crying out in vain as he swallows his own tongue. The iBabe is an iPod that matches the exact size, shape, and appearance of a naked woman, so naturally, teenagers try to bang it. The joke is that women are literally objects, men are uninhibited sex perverts, and iPods were a thing that happened. Another sketch about an uncomfortable date. This time around, a 7th grade girl gets her period, and the two boys she's with don't understand what a menstrual cycle is. The sketch ends by Patrick Warburton showing up and doing a fart. Two dirtbags kidnap, then kill a pair of leprechauns, and steal their pot of gold. They also kidnap a fairy and,
I suck cock for gold coins.
Are you fucking serious? Halle Berry and Stephen Merchant are on a blind date. Yes, this anthology is so bereft of ideas that 4 different segments are about dates gone awry. They play Truth or Dare and it gets horrifically out of hand and extremely racist. A team of basketball players who happen to be black are reminded that they are good at basketball specifically because they are black. You see, it's funny because... Elizabeth Banks is concerned with her boyfriend's relationship with Beazle, an animated cat that clearly wants to plough her man. Banks gets sprayed with piss, and the whole thing closes out with a group of children murdering her. In just shy of 450 words, I've told you everything Movie 43 has to say. It's not a comedic anthology, it's the pathetic death rattle of the gross-out comedy subgenre. Now, you might be thinking my summary back there was some sort of abbreviated vertical slice of what each sketch offers. Nope. As one note and rushed as my hurried rundown may have sounded, everything I said is the sum total of every sketch from beginning to end. When I said this is about a feuding couple having an argument over the intercom of a grocery store and then they both leave, that is literally everything that happens.
Take it easy, Aaron Brockovich.
When Richard Gere finds out his MP3 player is mangling manpipes, him sitting in a boardroom and being informed of this issue is the unresolved entirety of the bit.
That's the joke.
That's because Movie 43, for all its pedigree and lipstick on a pig prestige, does not know how to tell a joke. What's more perplexing though is just how fundamentally it misunderstands what a joke actually is.
If you were a superhero, what would your superpower be?
My superpower would be sucking dicks!
Let's compare 2 different examples of a cinematic joke, both written and directed by the same man. First, we're going to break down this now iconic image of Cameron Diaz in There's Something About Mary. The setup is that Ted here is so uptight, sexually repressed, and nervous, he takes the asinine advice of a close friend and hurriedly masturbates before his date arrives to alleviate his anxiety. And in another small detail informed by characterization, he's doing the deed utilising the most pedestrian material possible. Then, through a subversive turn, the payoff to both the wank and the joke is plastered to the fringe of the woman who represents his youthful abandon, romantic desires, sexual insecurities, and hopes for a better future.
Is that hair gel?
Yeah.
Great. I could use
No, you don't have to. You don't.
I just ran out.
Ted is then forced to look at his history of sexual embarrassment head-on, figuratively and literally, overcoming his neuroses and proving to himself that his shortcomings and screw-ups needn't define or derail his search for happiness. Setup, characterization, narrative context, escalation, subversion, and payoff. Now let's compare that to movie 43's take on an uncomfortable dinner date. The gag has absolutely no setup, and neither Winslet nor Jackman are afforded even a shred of characterization. There's zero narrative context, escalation, or payoff, and the whole ordeal cuts to the next short film mid-sentence.
Ready?
We really don't.
We don't need to
ready?
at all. We really.
The fuck, man?
And that's how every individual short that makes up movie 43 plays out, leaving subversion as the one and only load-bearing pillar, propping up every last attempt at a joke in this supposed comedy. Don't point that out to Farrelly though, or he might tweet something like this.
To the critics, you always complain that Hollywood never gives you new stuff, and then when you get it, you flip out.
Here's the thing. You can't even excuse it for being some bold, original risk that didn't pay off, because the vast majority of its jokes are just sloppily lifted from other works. Encounter someone with oddly placed genitals? That's just Butters from South Park, the Chernobyl date from Juice Bigelow European Gigolo, with a dash of the Bolchinians from Men in Black 2. This scene of a mother hitting on her own son is ripped from Not Another Teen Movie, as is the entire sketch involving an attractive woman who wants to be used as a toilet. Truth or Dare is a juvenile corruption of the Chinese restaurant episode of Seinfeld, with some of Friends The One in Vegas thrown in. A highly sexualized anthropomorphic animal that's friends with a grown man to the dismay of his girlfriend is Ted by way of Fritz the cat. Even the aforementioned ejaculate hair gel gag from There's Something About Mary is tossed into the superhero speed date sequence.
You know that shiny stuff in his hair? It's not hair gel.
No.
Want to really drive home how lazy the rest of movie 43 is? Nearly 20% of the total runtime is reserved for bloopers, and a final sketch so loathsome it got shoved into the end credits. Want to know how inept this is? This is a movie that frequently fills gaps with stock footage, and that's when they're not just straight up copy-pasting footage from earlier in the movie into later scenes.
The fuck, man? The fuck, man?
All told, what we have here is a comedy that isn't even accidentally funny. A collection of shorts that feels longer than the Reconquista War, and an assemblage of stars drifting aimlessly in space as a cold, inescapable vacuum consumes their very essence. So how in the name of Eddie Redmayne's Oscar did movie 43 get made? And more importantly, how did the producers behind it lure in such an extraordinary cast?
Whoa, you've got weird pubes.
Hey guys, come check out this kid's weird pubes.
A short while ago, there was a Tinseltown trend towards whimsical, lightweight anthologies. Short stories strung together by an overarching theme or conceptual slant, anchored by an assortment of recognisable faces. Being a film school dweeb, my first run-in with the formula was Jim Jarmusch's Coffee and Cigarettes. 11 short stories with the foundational fixtures of caffeine, nicotine, and famous people being impossibly cool.
Cigarettes and coffee, man. That's a combination.
Then came Paris Je T'aime and New York I Love You, both made up of geographically bound episodic chapters exploring romance and reality in the big city. Spotting an idea ripe with commercial potential, director Gary Marshall took this concept and ran it straight into the ground with his Calendar trilogy. Valentine's Day, New Year's Eve, and Mother's Day are intellectually barren products with only the faintest pretense of being real motion pictures.
I don't want a mustache.
You look hot with a mustache.
Lacking laughs or any concerted effort, they cynically popularized what I like to call the ensemble equation, where premise minus structure times marketing equals minimum viable product. Or in the case of the Calendar trilogy, commercialized date minus narrative cohesion times bankable celebrities equals movie. For the actors involved, it's a no-brainer. Shoot for a couple of days, collect a modest check, and sew up a healthy slice of the back-end profits in a lucratively negotiated contract. A high reward, a low risk quickie to slot between more high profile projects, whilst keeping your face in the popular conscious every year when the respective date rolls around and those sweet royalty payments kick in. Seeing dollar signs and sensing a gap in this market ready to fill with bodily fluids, the producers of Movie 43 had a light bulb moment. What if we took this ensemble equation and plugged it into a gross-out comedy format? Wringing every last spiteful drop from the idea that paying audiences would jump at the chance to see a murderer's row of A-list talent dragged through the lowbrow trenches of trash.
Yes.
Director and producer Peter Farrelly knew his onions in this department, having spearheaded the scatological comedy boom of the 90s with some genuinely endearing pictures. But by the late 2000s, he'd found himself in much lower standing, his throne usurped by high-concept capers and market-ready sequels, as the long-gestating Movie 43 hit roadblock after roadblock. The budget was gnawed down to a paltry $6 million. George Clooney took one look at the pitch and responded by saying, and I quote, "No fucking way," and Trey Parker and Matt Stone allegedly bolted as soon as they were shown a script. But if you learn anything from Movie 43, it's that you should never underestimate the persistence of a plague.
I thought it was a really odd note to end the movie on just 10 minutes of news footage of 9/11.
When The Guardian began its own investigation into why this incontinent slug of a film exists, it uncovered a web of manipulation, ignorance, and badgering force.
Oh, that's real nice.
More than 4 years before Movie 43's release, producer Charles Wessler cornered Hugh Jackman at a wedding and proposed a silly little sketch to shoot over a couple of days as a wacky goof. Jackman, being an all-around nice person and always willing to poke fun at himself, agreed. His involvement in turn coaxed an unsure Kate Winslet to sign up, and thus the neck testicle sketch was born.
Really? Oh, really?
What neither of these actors knew was that they'd inadvertently knocked over the first domino in a chain reaction that would lead to this.
Will you poop on me?
What?
Will you poop on me?
Using Jackman and Winslet's bit as a proof of concept, Wessler and Farrelly pitched similarly grotesque shorts to every actor under the sun. The more folks boarded the project, the more enticing a proposition it became. You see, peer pressure is a powerful thing, even amongst the rich and famous. Nobody wants to turn down an invitation to a star-studded gala, nor do they want their brand to be tarnished with the label of smug superiority. After all, if Jackman can have an Adam's apple made of balls, and Halle Berry is out here giving herself a vaginal douche with hot sauce, then who am I to say I'm too good to get urinated on by a cartoon cat? Sure, the pay was a paltry $800 per performer, so how about we sweeten the deal and say you can perform alongside your real life partner, you can perform alongside your real life partner, and together you'll be able to cash in your back-end percentages of the worldwide box office, providing it's a critical and commercial success, of course. Your film is bad and you should feel bad. Even with scummy deceit on their side, more drastic measures were often required by the producers to ensure their flock of talent didn't flee once cooler heads prevailed and they realised they'd signed themselves up for one of the worst feature films ever made.
So what's movie 43 actually about?
No one can really give you an answer. And the reason is because they wouldn't tell us.
As reported by The Telegraph and Jezebel.com, multiple cast members tried to leave the project once they were provided with completed scripts, only to find they were now contractually and legally required to shoot their scenes. A fact that Farrelly is all too giddy to reiterate.
How many fucking times do I have to tell you?
They clearly wanted out, but we wouldn't let them. We'd guilt them to death.
All these sketchy, morally dubious schemes, manipulations, and outright traps, and for what?
Can I say it for real?
Yeah.
I was like, what the f*** is happening?
A film whose most charitable review exclaims, "It's rare to see a piece of shit that actually looks and sounds like a piece of shit." Sean William Scott, Chloe Moretz, Common, and Jimmy Bennett dared show their face at the premiere. James Gunn and Richard Gere haven't seen it. In fact, very few of those involved will even acknowledge that movie 43 exists.
I don't know what the hell movie 43 even means, but I'm in movie 43. Maybe they be in movie 44. I don't know.
Venture far enough into the weeds though, and you'll find a few bubbling resentments here and there.
You thought you might fucking ass. What's the matter with you?
When Jackman was doing the publicity rounds for X-Men Days of Future Past, he didn't mince his words.
Which film should I avoid, and what is my most embarrassing moment? When they come to you with an idea of putting testicles around your neck and being part of this hilarious group and ensemble of some of the funniest movies of all time, don't believe them. You could take the testicles because you use it quite a lot at parties and dinner parties and bring them out and it actually gets a good laugh. But the movie, you could do without doing it, all right?
Gunn has taken potshots about it from afar. Gere had this to say to the BBC.
There's a man named Charlie, he's the producer of it. Mm-hmm. He's the godfather of my stepdaughter. He said, come do this for half a day. I read the thing and it was like, fine, whatever.
And that's really it as far as reporting goes. Whilst there are encyclopedic accounts of why infamous blunders like Troll 2 and Batman and Robin shit the bed, movie 43 has all but vanished from the public consciousness.
Piece of shit!
So, how does a disaster of this scale simply evaporate?
That's nice.
When considering every ugly, unpalatable, uncomfortable detail in this collage of crap, the reasons for its soured obscurity are maybe the easiest part of this whole charade to understand. For one thing, when it comes to publicity and press, certain subjects are off limits, with the understanding that should a writer ever veer too far off message or start digging for dirt, the interviewee can shut things down.
I'm shutting your butt down.
And even blacklist their publication from future access.
Just put your manners back in.
Do you think I was out of line?
Yes, absolutely.
Odds are Vanity Fair isn't going to risk their relationships with an Oscar winner over some 2-day bit part they tossed off over a decade ago.
I want to give you a hickey on your vagina.
Second, and this is the far more damning reason this anthology wafted away like a fart in the wind, it doesn't deserve to be remembered. Unlike midnight movie classics, cult favourites, and so bad it's good staples, Movie 43 is a truly miserable watch.
You do not need to go and see the film in the same way that you do not need to tread in dog poo to know that it's not pleasant.
It's never once funny, intentionally or otherwise, nor is its scummy wrong-headedness compelling in and of itself, out with the surprisingly dark manipulative explanation for how it came to be.
I just went with it. Yeah. But I was like, what the is going on right now?
The only culturally significant thing about it is that 5 years later, the architect of this afterbirth won an Academy Award for Best Picture, with a film that's only marginally less racially insensitive than this. Now that all's said and done, I hope I've shed some light on the hows and whys of this monstrosity. May we now erase it from our memories, and pray to Philip Seymour Hoffman's ghost,
Pig fuck!
that they never make a movie 44. A ceremonial burning of the trash pile for our Patreon producers Jennifer C, Claire MD, Becky O, Scared Confusion, and Nicholas Lair Revere, and an exploding toilet for all these amazing folks who support the channel over on Patreon. Have you endured movie 43? And what's the most miserable you've ever been watching a comedy? The best way to support the channel is to share these videos with whoever you think would be interested. Like, share and leave a comment, it really makes a huge difference. And if you're in a position to do so, consider checking out our Patreon at the link in the description below, where you can get access to the In From Out Film Club, our private Discord, and your name in the end credits of each video. As always, thank you for watching. Until next time, this is In Frame Out.